DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. The DeWitt County Animal Shelter is looking to modernize its computer software, but the transition to a new system hit a legal speed bump during last Thursday night's DeWitt County Board meeting. State's Attorney Dan Markwell stepped in with several warnings before the board could move forward on a proposed contract with the software provider Shelter Love. He cautioned that the contract doesn't look like a standard county agreement.
The contract is bound by state of Delaware, and their laws apply pursuant to this contract. And that concerns me. If there's ever a breakdown or a lawsuit were to result from this, obviously I'm not licensed to practice in the state of Delaware. I don't know Delaware law very well. I've researched a little bit on some issues here. But not only does it say that it's governed and interpreted by the laws of the state of Delaware, and it basically does away with any conflict of laws issues that we normally have on trying to determine whose law would apply. But we consent to the personal jurisdiction in the state and federal courts in Wilmington, Delaware only. So that's a problem for me because if there's ever litigation, that's going to be costly.
Many out-of-the-box software agreements contain clauses that could leave the county vulnerable if a data breach occurred or if the software failed to perform as promised. Markwell specifically pointed to the lack of indemnification for the county, a legal term that essentially means the software company would not be on the hook for costs if their system caused a legal issue for DeWitt County.
Besides having to potentially litigate any issues in the state of Delaware, we're also binding ourselves with this California Consumer Privacy Act, which, if you've seen that, it's 66 pages. I think it's very problematic. So this is ostensibly that the contract allows what's called Houndtown, the Shelter Love people, to use the county's logo in any type of advertising and use any data that we provide them for marketing purposes, basically. Whatever you decide as far as your own personal data, that's one thing. But although this contract will bind us under the state of Delaware and the state of California under their laws, the data we're bringing in from customers, and my understanding is we'd be using this for adoptions of animals. So say somebody comes in and wants to adopt an animal, they're providing their data, their credit card information, what have you, and we're providing that. My fear, the way this is written, is they're going to take a third party's information and then use that for marketing purposes or solicit these people. And under the 66-page law out of California, it indicates that we would need to provide these individuals with notice of the contents, basically. I don't know how to do that other than anybody that's going to adopt, say, here's the 66-page packet, and we could have them sign some kind of a disclaimer that they've read and understood it and are bound by it. And then somebody would have to be responsible with the county of following this and giving them the notice that's required for them to opt out. And I think it was like twice a year, we need to send them some kind of disclosure to that effect.
Beyond just legal liability, Markwell also pointed to data ownership, noting concerns that once the county starts inputting sensitive records into the Shelter Love cloud, getting that data back out or keeping it private might not be guaranteed under the current terms.
And the contract defines us as a business. And the reason they're doing that is because the only way they can incorporate us into this California law is defining a sense of business. We're obviously not a business, we're a governmental entity, so different laws apply to governmental entities than normally happens in business. So I don't like the definitions and them couching us in those terms, because I don't know, when you're looking at Delaware law or California law, what that's going to do for us. I looked just briefly today under the state of Delaware's laws, and for instance, in this contract, it goes for 12 months, and then it automatically renews month after month, and then you have to give 5 days notice before the expiration of the contract to terminate it. So I found 3 different provisions in the state of Delaware. One for contracts for services, which require a 6-month notice. So arguably, is this a contract for services? There's also contracts for equipment, which require 6 months notification. And then beyond those 2, there's a generic one that just says, the termination timeline has to be reasonable. I don't know that 5 days is reasonable, because you might get to the end of the month and not be able to get them notice in time. And the notice requirements in the state of Delaware, especially for terminating services or equipment, require by mail or in-person service. So we can't just email this company and say, we want out. So we need to be aware of that. Indicates that we as the customer acknowledge that the services are not licensed, used in connection with any time-critical or mission-critical functions. I don't know if that's true or not. On processing these, Downtown says that they can change, suspend, discontinue any aspect of the service at any time without notice or liability to the customer. And they may also impose limits on certain features and services or restrict the customer's access to part of the services without liability. They may also change the terms from time to time at its sole discretion. And if Houndtown makes any substantial changes, it will notify us. But what does substantial mean? I would want the county, if we're going to enter into a contract, know what the terms are, that they just can't be changed at the other party's discretion. And then if we disagree with that, then we've got to litigate it in another state.
Markwell highlighted a clause regarding third-party access, which could potentially allow the software provider to share or sell anonymized data, something that could conflict with county privacy standards.
Indicates that in the event of a loss of customer data caused by Houndtown's negligence or willful misconduct, Houndtown will use commercial reasonable efforts to recover the data within 96 hours of notification of loss. The foregoing constitutes customer's sole and exclusive remedy for any loss of data. So if they screw something up and they lose all our data, all they got to do is say, well, we tried for 96 hours to get it back and we didn't, so sorry, you're out. So, if you're going to do this, you need to have some kind of a good backup system, I would assume, to make sure that you're covered, because there's nothing we can do against them if they lose it. They also, Houndtown reserves the right to withhold, remove, and or discard customer data without notice. Under fees, customers shall pay all fees or charges set forth in the order form. Houndtown has the right to increase such fees or charges at any time upon notice of the customer. You may have an agreement at the beginning. They can give us notice and say, nope, next month, this is what it's going to be. And we're going to be stuck with that. Once again, it talks about if there's a breach, Houndtown will reperform the non-conforming portion of the contract. Once again, that's the customer's sole and exclusive remedy for a breach of warranty. All their services are as is, providing no warranty. Talks about the amount of damages they can recover, which is $100 or potential fees paid by the customer under the 12-month immediate preceding the claim. So there's no other damages beyond that. When it comes to the county's logo, it says each party grants the other limited worldwide license to use the other's logo in conformance with the party's trademark usage. I don't know that we've ever done that, but I think we should clarify exactly how that would be used.
The board tabled the vote to allow Markwell to reach out to the Shelter Love legal representatives to renegotiate a revised contract. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Health isn't just something you think about when you're sick. At the SIU Center for Family Medicine in Lincoln, our doctors care for you through every stage of life. Annual checkups help you stay ahead of problems, keep your family healthy, and build a relationship with a doctor who knows you. Make preventative care part of your routine. Book your annual appointment online today by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. SIU Medicine in Lincoln. Forward for you.
FFA members looking to serve a need in Indianapolis during their 98th convention last year found it in partnership with Indy Humane, the local animal welfare organization. Hundreds of students braided paracord leashes, 1,500 of them, for animals in need. Today and every day in 2026, we salute the FFA, living to serve.
This salute is sponsored by Corner FS in Muhammad, your trusted high-quality auto repair service since 2008.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In high school boys basketball, regional semifinal matchups tonight in Class 1A. 7th-seeded Edinburgh will play the 2-seed Carlisle at Bunker Hill at 6 p.m. 10-seed Schlarman will play 2-seed Cerro Gordo Bement at Salt Fork at 6 p.m. Decatur Unity is the 1-seed against 8-seed Oakwood Decatur St. Teresa tonight at 6 p.m., while 1-seeded Leroy will play 9th-seeded Flanagan tonight at Hoopston at 6 p.m. 9th-seeded Havana plays 1st-seed D. Mac at Rushville at 6 p.m. tonight, while number 10 Delavan goes to 2-seed Tremont at 6 p.m. 8th-seeded Shiloh is hosted by the 1-seed Tuscola tonight at 6 p.m. The 6th-seed Central A&M plays 3-seeded Toledo Cumberland at Casey Westfield tonight at 7:30, while 13th-seeded Urbana University takes on the number 5-seed Mount Pulaski tonight at Decatur St. Teresa at 7:30. 5-seeded Hayworth plays the 4th-seeded Clifton Central at Hoopston tonight at 7:30 p.m., while the 6th-seed Gibson City Melvin Sibley plays 3rd-seeded Ridgeview Lexington at Lexington. 12th-seeded Meridian takes on the 4th-seed Stewartson Strasburg tonight at Tuscola at 7:30 p.m. In Class 2A, 7th-seeded Eureka will play the 2-seed Warsaw at Canton at 6 p.m., while top-seeded Peoria Manual plays number 9 Tri-Valley at Tri-Valley at 6 p.m. 8th-seeded Monticello takes on a rival top-seeded Tolono Unity at Maroa-Forsyth at 6 p.m. tonight. Hear the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. 7th-seeded Pana will play the 2-seed Warrensburg Latham at St. Joe tonight at 6 p.m., while top-seeded Quincy Notre Dame plays 8th-seed Pleasant Plains at Verdon North Mac at 6 p.m. 7th-seed Auburn is at 2-seed Williamsville tonight at 6 p.m., while the 5th-seeded Macomb plays 4th-seeded Bloomington Central Catholic tonight at 7:30 at Tri-Valley. 5th-seeded Prairie Central takes on 4th-seed El Paso Gridley at Herscher at 7:30 p.m. 4 Westville is at 6 Maroa-Forsyth at 7:30 p.m. tonight. The 5th-seed Clinton will be at 3-seeded St. Joe tonight at 7:30. Hear the action of that game on WHOW and all its digital platforms. The 6th-seed Riverton will play the 3-seed Rochester tonight at Williamsville at 7:30. In Class 3A, 7th-seeded Danville takes on top-seeded Normal U High at Bloomington High School at 6 p.m., while the 8th-seeded Springfield Southeast takes on the number 1-seeded Decatur MacArthur at Decatur MacArthur. The 7th-seeded Washington will take on the 2-seed East Peoria at Galesburg at 6 p.m., while 7th-seeded Decatur Eisenhower goes to 2-seed Lincoln at 6 p.m. 2-seeded Champaign Centennial will play at Normal West tonight at 6 p.m. At 7:30 p.m., Champaign Central, who is the 4th seed, will go to number 5 Bloomington High School. 5th-seeded Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin plays across-town rival number 4-seeded Springfield Lanphier at Decatur MacArthur at 7:30 p.m. tonight, while the 6th-seeded Mount Zion plays number 3 Springfield at Lincoln at 7:30 p.m., while the number 6 seed Urbana plays number 3 seed Mahomet Seymour at 7:30 at Normal West. Brandon Miller scored 23 points. Con Knuppel added 21, and the hot shooting Charlotte Hornets won a team record 8th straight road game, routing the Chicago Bulls 131-99 on Tuesday night. The Hornets shot 51.6% from the field and were on target from beyond the arc, sinking 25 of 57 three-point attempts, one shy of the team record. LaMelo Ball scored 16 points, and Miles Bridges also had 16 in his return from a suspension. The Hornets outscored the Bulls 42-16 in the third quarter, including a decisive 22-2 run, and handed the Bulls a 10th straight loss, matching their longest slide since January 2019. Mattis Buzelis scored a career-high 32 points for Chicago, which was hurt by turnovers, 19 in this one. Patrick Williams and Gershon Yabusele each had 11 points. Knuppel finished with 3 3-pointers on 6 attempts to up his long-range field goals total to 201. Playing in his 58th game, he became the fastest player to reach 200 threes. Knuppel hit back-to-back threes midway through the third quarter as he scored 10 straight points to give Charlotte a 14-point lead. Miller hit his next 3 shots, including one of his 5 3-pointers, to up it to 88-65 and cap the run that put the Hornets in charge. Bridges and Musa Diabate were both in the starting lineup after sitting out 4 games for their roles in a fight against Detroit on February 9th. Kobe White made his Hornets debut against the team that dealt him at the trade deadline earlier this month, entering midway through the first quarter, then scoring 10 points in 15 minutes and 33 seconds. He was welcomed back to Chicago, where he played 6.5 seasons with a short tribute video. Charlotte led 56-55 at the half after falling behind by 9 in midway through the second quarter. The Hornets are at Indiana on Thursday, while the Bulls play host to Portland on Thursday. In scores from NCAA men's basketball last night, 21st-ranked Miami at Ohio beat Eastern Michigan 74-64, while number 16 Texas Tech handled Cincinnati 80-68. First-ranked Duke beat Notre Dame 100-56, while the 11th-ranked Virginia beat North Carolina State 90-61. Dayton upset number 23 St. Louis University 77-62, while number 3 Michigan beat Big Ten opponent Minnesota 77-67. Number 2 Arizona beat Baylor 87-80, while number 4 Iowa State beat Utah 75-59. Mizzou upset number 22 Tennessee 73-69, and UCF upset number 19 BYU 97-84. In scores from around the NBA last night, the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Indiana Pacers 135-114. The Dallas Mavericks took down the Brooklyn Nets 123-114. While the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the New York Knicks 109-94. The Oklahoma City Thunder took down the Toronto Raptors 116-107. The Atlanta Hawks rolled the Washington Wizards 119-98, while the New Orleans Pelicans beat the Golden State Warriors 113-109. The Milwaukee Bucks took down the Miami Heat 128-117, and the Boston Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns 97-81. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Portland Trailblazers 124-121, and the Orlando Magic beat the LA Lakers by just 1 point, 110-109. The NHL returns after the Olympic break tonight. We've got the Buffalo Sabres at the New Jersey Devils. The Philadelphia Flyers go to the Washington Capitals. The Tampa Bay Lightning are playing host to the Toronto Maple Leafs, while the Dallas Stars play host to the Seattle Kraken. The Colorado Avalanche go to the Utah Mammoth, and the Winnipeg Jets are at the Vancouver Canucks. The LA Kings are hosting the Las Vegas Golden Knights, while the Edmonton Oilers play at the Anaheim Ducks. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
You wouldn't shave half your face.
Oh no.
Or chop down half a tree. So why leave weeds half finished? Cairo herbicide from Corteva Agriscience delivers complete control with a novel triple-action premix formula, the ultimate application flexibility, and season-long protection against tough weeds. Cairo herbicide, going all the way, is the only way. Visit Corteva.us/complete.
Here's Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson on how he works to save you money every